Hello and welcome to another DCAT 2 lesson brought to you by the North American Clinical Research Consortium. I'm Dr. Leonard Matheson. Today's lesson is on the DCAT 2 ONET Situational Assessments. The DCAT 2 Comprehensive Dynamic Complex Assessment task is based on the doll chair assembly task. It uses the same equipment, but with different protocols and evaluation record. The major difference is that the DCAT-2 is ONET linked to the Occupational Information Network. Our case study today is Joanna Kim, RN. She's a 32-year-old acute care nurse with 10 years of experience at her job. She had a fall injury at work in which she fractured her clavicle and sustained a concussive traumatic brain injury. After her fracture healed, she was able to go back to work, but quickly realized that she wasn't up to it. She wasn't able to work as quickly or as steadily as she had before she got hurt. She had underestimated the consequences of her concussion. We're going to help Joanna by using the Occupational Information Network. ONET has 6 large databases that are integrated. We're going to be focusing on the Worker Characteristics Database in the upper left-hand corner and the Occupation-Specific Information Database in the lower right-hand corner. We're going to focus on evaluating Joanna's abilities in terms of the task demands of her work. Observing the person perform tasks gives us information about their abilities that substantiate the need for return-to-work rehabilitation services. It also gives us an opportunity to measure her performance on a serial basis to demonstrate to stakeholders that she's making progress. In the Worker Characteristics Abilities database, there are 52 abilities. The DCAT-2 measures 9 of these: oral comprehension, problem sensitivity, perceptual speed, visualization, selective attention, time sharing, manual dexterity, finger dexterity, and wrist finger speed. Altogether, there are 15 tests in the DCAT-2, 3 work sample tests, and 12 situational assessments. This is an evaluation record on Joanna Kim completed by Susan Jones on work sample test number 1, the simplest of the assessments in the DCAT-2. Work sample tests provide information on 7 ONET variables and 3 executive function variables. Here is the evaluation record for situational assessment number 7, a mid-range situational assessment that Susan has administered to Joanna. Across the 12 situational assessments, we can measure 9 ONET variables and 5 executive function variables. In Joanna's case, Susan rated her above the mid-range for wrist finger speed, but she was unable to complete tasks requiring finger dexterity and manual dexterity on her own. She required assistance from Susan. Joanna's oral comprehension was rated by Susan at 2.7, 1 step below the median. Joanna complained that the instructions and telephone messages came too fast. Susan rated Joanna at the median, 3.3, in terms of perceptual speed, and just below the median at 2.9 each for visualization and problem sensitivity. Susan noted that Joanna followed the model on a self-managed basis, resulting in the 2.9 rating for visualization. She also used the model to identify one of the distractor parts to pick up on problem sensitivity on a self-managed basis, leading to a rating at 2.9. Time sharing required Susan to be Joanna's coach. She had difficulty moving back and forth from the telephone message process to the assembly process. Susan noted that Joanna had poor recovery and had some problems with perseveration. The final DCAT-2 ONET variable, selective attention, was rated by Susan at 2.5. Joanna's participation in the evaluation was facilitated by using the assembly manual, but she lost her place in the assembly manual as she tried to shift her attention from the manual to telephone messages and back again. For the 5 executive function variables, Susan rated Joanna at the self-managed level for planning and organization. She noted that Joanna set up the telephone message pad under her work aids, and Joanna commented that she needed to anticipate better, which is a good indication of being self-managed. One of the issues that came up that Joanna is going to be working on with Susan is a problem with perseverance, her ability to maintain focus and effort to achieve a goal. Susan noted that Joanna required encouragement to continue with the project. Moving on to problem correction and emotional control, Susan rated Joanna at the self-managed level. For problem correction, Susan noted that Joanna used self-talk to walk herself through the model as an aid in the assembly process. Similarly, Joanna used calming self-talk to maintain emotional control. Both of those were rated at the self-managed level by Susan. Finally, what most of us consider to be the most important executive dysfunction, a problem with safety, Joanna did not have any difficulty with. Susan rated her at the competitive level and commented that her safety was excellent. One of the tools in the DCAT-2 suite of tools is the Occupational Task Ability Profiler. This provides us with a profile of the ability level and the importance of the 9 DCAT-2 ONET variables that are measured in the situational assessments. This information helps us to develop the rehab plan and then to measure the person's progress as they move through the program. For Joanna, as an acute care nurse, problem sensitivity has a high level of importance and a high level of demand. Oral comprehension comes in a close second. The Occupational Task Ability Profiler, or OTAP, also allows you to just look at the cognitive variables if you choose. The same comparison can be provided across the 6 variables that the DCAT-2 has allowed you to measure in your discussion with your client about what the rehab plan will need to pay attention to. And here we have just the ability levels, if that's necessary, to simplify to help the client understand what you will be focusing on. So, thank you for your attention. We appreciate your interest in the DCAT-2. Future lessons are being developed to focus on structured task self-appraisal, which can be part of an intake interview that is very useful in focusing the concerns of the client so that the client feels respected and understood. For people who have not had much exposure to ONET, we've got an ONET clinical literacy course that we're developing that you might be interested in. Keep in touch with us. Let us know what we can do to help at info@mathesondevelopment.com. Take care now.